Alrighty, so as I said, first thing you do, take the battery key, put it in. Typically you would leave this in. This is not the sort of thing you take off the boat, because if you forget, put it this way, no one takes them off their boats. They always leave them in place because it's something you can't just go and find a replacement for. So push it in, turn it clockwise, you've activated power to the board. You haven't actually switched on any items. So if we go to switch on lights, they won't work, or switch on anything for that matter, they won't work, because you then have to come to this board and activate the power for the specific item you're using. Okay, so we've turned on the 12-volt power. It's the board is accepting the power, but you now have to turn on all the items individually. So starting in the top left, this one here is basically a backlight for your compass. So at night time, you'd have that on, and your compass at the wheel would be illuminated red. Okay, this one here is actually the instruments up at the wheel. So when you turn that one on, your instruments at the wheel, so your depth sounder, the wind instrument will activate. So you've got power to them. This one here is your radio. So that's the stereo, fusion stereo, just there. So that activates power. That typically also does, there you go, power to your VHF. Do you know how to use a VHF?
I have been trained on it, but I haven't used one for a long while.
Basically, all you need to remember, it always starts on channel 16. If you're on another channel and you need to get back to 16, you just press that button, takes you back. That's the one you would leave on. Your volume is the top, your on and off is the top volume switch, on and off and volume. And then if you're finding it hard to hear people talking, the squelch is this one, and you just turn it until you can hear them clearly. So if there's a lot of static, just turn that till you can hear them. So you would speak to the Coast Guard on 16. They'll typically send you to 72. You do the channels either using up and down here or up and down on here on the control, and then press to talk.
Okay. And has Steve got one here at the marina, like a VHF radio?
They don't. They do. I don't think they monitor it. Right. It would be Gosford Coastal Patrol,
right,
which monitor their VHF.
And you get that on 16?
You get them on 16.
Right.
Gosford Coastal Patrol, 3 calls, say who you are, sticky, 3 calls, and they will send you to a channel, 72 or 73. The only time you would contact them really is when you're exiting Pittwater, heading for Sydney or Lake Macquarie or something, and they will tell you, look, check in when you get to Long Reef, or they'll hand you over to Sydney Coastal Patrol, and they put you on a log. If you don't log in, they call you on your mobile. They call you a couple of times, and then they send out helicopters. so they will, because I forgot to call them once. They didn't send out the helicopter, but I was on the last phone call, and I got to the phone. I was like, and fortunately, I apologise. It was okay.
So you have to check in with them.
You do have to check in with them. Yep. If they sent out the helicopters, it might have been a different story. Back to this. So if you are operating your anchor, that has to be switched on. If you want to use the electric bilge pump, that's it, operating there. You also have a manual bilge pump up on the cockpit. If you're going to have water, so if you're going to be using the taps or the shower or anything, that's the pressure pump, because it's a pressure system. When you operate the tap, you'll hear that pump going. If you're going to have a shower, that needs to be on, so that's power to the shower sump pump. If it's nighttime, turn that. We can't see it at the moment, but all this illuminates green. And you can't turn that one off, so you can't accidentally turn it off at night time. The only time that will go off is when you switch the power off at the end of the day. This one is nothing. That's a heater, but we don't have them in Australia. That's the fridge, so that's pretty much on all the time, but on off there. And these are all the spares, which, as you can see, have been fitted with the extras that Richard's fitted to the boat. So if you're going to turn the TV on, you'd activate power and then switch the TV on either at the TV or with the remote control. Lights in the cockpit, they've probably got their own switches on them, and that just activates power to it. That's a spare one. That's a 12-volt socket in the cockpit to charge phones. and that is your deck wash.
Right.
So that's activating power to your deck wash. On this side of the panel is all our lights. Pretty self-explanatory. Masthead, your steaming light, your deck floodlight, your bow, stern, and then your cabin lights. Cabin lights are typically set up on 2 switches. It's either front and back or port and starboard. So, okay. So it's probably, I have to switch on some more, but it's, yeah, that's the way it's separated, basically. And then you've got this 12-volt socket here. That's always on, so you can plug things in and charge them up. So this side here of the panel is all 12-volt, or it relates to 12-volt systems. This section here is 240-volt, okay? So we are plugged in at the shore. We know that because this green light is on. And this is our main breaker switch just here. So up is on these switches. And moving from left to right, this one here is the hot water electric control. So you will get hot water after 10 or 15 minutes of the engine running, but if you're in the dock like this and you don't want to blow smoke onto the dock, you can flick this switch up, the red light will go on, and you're now heating up hot water. But I always tell people, and this is a safety thing as well, when you're not using the hot water and you're plugged into 240, turn it off and leave it off. Reason being, it's a pressure hot water system, so it's a 25 litre pressure tank, and then it's got a pressure release valve on it. But what has happened in boats in the past, not on a Bavaria, but it happened on a Riviera and Marina down the road a few years back, the pressure release valve was faulty. The water tank was totally empty, so they'd run out of water, the pressure release valve was faulty, and they had left this on. So you've got a hot element heating up, creating steam. And it turned into a bomb, and it blew the flybridge off. So I always just say to people, leave that off. All those things would have to happen. Like you'd have to have a faulty safety switch. You'd have to have no water on the boat, and you'd have to leave that on. But you run the risk. So just leave it off. This one here is your 240 volt sockets. So power to these guys, which there will be changes. There'll be somewhere on board that you plug in 240 volt adapters for Aussie power. And this one here's the microwave.
Microwave, right?
Yep.
Is the microwave connected?
Yes, only when you're on shore power.
Only on shore power?
Yes.
I thought it needed a